Class, hello, and welcome to this Playwork session on types of play. I will be your tutor, Big Owl. Today, we're going to look at self-direct play. First, let's look at why play is important. In order to develop physically and mentally, children have several needs which must be met. Play has a huge impact on a child's development and health. Play can give children the ability to learn more about themselves as well as the world around them, enabling them to become much more imaginative and creative, and to also become more aware of their own environment and culture. Play also has influence on a child's social and physical development. For example, different kinds of interaction and play can encourage children to form relationships. Children play of their own free will and only play by their own choice. A child would not involve themselves with the game in which they had no interest. Play is what children and young people do when they follow their own ideas and interests in their own way and for their own reasons. DCMS 2004. Are there different names or categories for different types of play? Yes, there are 4 types of self-direct play: freely chosen play, personally directed play, intrinsically motivated play, goalless play. We'll now discuss each of these in more detail. Freely chosen play is where a child literally chooses what they want to do or play. This is continued where the play is not influenced by adults or the national curriculum until the child chooses to stop. However, the space is usually provided by the adult, playworker, where the child would decide what they would like to play within the space provided them. Imaginative play, for example, would more than likely take place if a playworker only provided a space. The play is then child-led and the playworker follows. The playworker, however, still needs to be aware of cues and prompts given by the child's body language or gestures to ensure the child is playing at their full potential. Personally directed play. This is very similar to freely chosen play in regards to a child still having a choice within their play. However, the child would be choosing how they want to play, as opposed to choosing freely what they would like to do. Personally directed play would be directed by a playworker. This can be done, for example, by the adult directing a child to a learning space where creative and imaginative play would take place. The child would then choose how they would use the environment in which they have been directed to play. It is important to remember that a playworker would be involved in this. Intrinsically motivated play. This type of play occurs when children begin to choose why they are playing in a certain way, with certain toys, or within certain environments. Playworkers need to allow a child to work as independently as possible to encourage this type of motivation within play. However, they do need to interact with the child to encourage the child directly. This type of motivation within play can take time, but as a child begins to feel some sense of accomplishment, they are then becoming more willing and accepting of different challenges. A playworker can ensure a child is engaged and motivated by asking questions such as, "What do you think?" with relation to the activity the child is completing. It is important to reward a child for their persistence and resilience to activities where the child shows real motivation and determination to achieve. Goalless play. This occurs when a child completes an activity within the influence of goals or rewards. However, this type of play occurs more with older children when they begin completing activities set by school settings and the national curriculum. Younger children always need a goal or reward or to receive encouragement to further motivate them towards all types of play. Why is play so important? Well, there are short-term and long-term benefits. For short-term benefits, the first benefit is that play can provide children with the chance to enjoy their own freedom within play, in order to learn without an adult influencing or imposing where a child would need to play. Self-directed play can give the opportunity to test and push children to their own boundaries, where they would begin to show signs of taking risks within play and tasks. Within the time taken to play, this offers a child the opportunity to gain much experience, especially when playing with older children. They will gain social and intellectual skills whilst playing by merely playing with another child, as interaction takes place naturally. Long-term benefits. There are many long-term advantages involved with self-directed play. Firstly, self-directed play gives a child their own independence, which is shown by their choice of play, for example, where, what, and why they want to play within a certain area, or with particular toys. Social interaction is also a long-term benefit, as this can have a huge impact on a child's development, not only during their younger years, but also when they are much older and in further stages of development. As well as social development, self-directed play also has influence on a child's physical health and growth development. It is in play where a child will learn at his or her best. During play, a child's understanding increases, and so does their capacity to learn. Creativity is also encouraged throughout their play. Rights of the child. To ensure that a child can play and learn at their full potential, children's rights were introduced. The United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child is an international human rights treaty that sets out to ensure every child has a fulfilled childhood. It contains 40 substantive rights that were set out to ensure that children and young people have rights regardless of sex, religion, ethnicity, or social origin. Some include the right to access to education and healthcare, the right to be raised in a loving environment, and the opportunity to develop their personalities and talents. The United Nations states, "The right to play and informal recreation for all children and young people up to 18 years of age is contained in Article 31 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, ratified by the UK government in 1991. That's the children's right to play. The government has the responsibility to protect and give play opportunities to all children. Based on the United Nations Convention's human rights that were made for children in relation to playing and learning, Playwork has developed a set of values and principles. These are children's views, access to rich, freedom to play, equal entitlement, respect for children, children's abilities, play for its own sake, the importance of risk, and the adult role in play and adult responsiveness. All of these values need to be taken into account when working with children and young people to ensure children are growing and developing to their full potential. It is the playworker's responsibility to ensure that all of the values and principles be put into place with each child so that they are not deprived of play. Understanding the theories that underpin effective playwork provision. Within playwork, there are many theorists that draw conclusion on types of play with children. Opinions differ greatly in terms of which types of play are more beneficial. There are 4 principles involved with playwork theories, which are psycholudics, the play cycle, the use of play types, compound flexibility, loose parts. Hughes theory from 1968. Bob Hughes' theory was based around types of play. He described it as scientific research conducted by children. Hughes also had a theory based around behaviors and play patterns that are related to our ancestors and the types of behaviors they had, which can go back hundreds of years. These are evolutionary stages, the animal stage where a child interacts with the element of play, the savage stage where a child could have cruel interactions with other children not considered friends, the nomad, pastoral stage where the child will begin mental mapping, begin to master certain types of play, and will probably favour these. The tribal stage, where the membership of friendship groups begins to take place. The second part of Hughes' theory is based around the types of place, where children are born with a genetic expectation of the type of play they should experience. Taxonomy of play types. Hughes argued that these types of play should be included within play provision. There are 16 types of play theories that Hughes reasoned a child adopts. Children can adopt more than one of these different types of play and move in and out of each one rapidly. Communication play. A child would play using words, body language, and gestures. For example, they may use code or secret languages, songs, jokes, street slang, where these are based around the message. Creative play. This involves a child having fun creating their own play. For example, they could be digging, baking, and washing, where they would use a wide range of tools, textures, and objects for the sake of play. The play would involve what the child wants to create without reason or an end result. Deep play. This type of play is where a child learns about risk from their own perspective. It would not be adult-led. This can be very dangerous types of play, even life-threatening. For example, a child may jump or climb on a very high wall or play chicken in traffic. It can have serious consequences if children do not learn about the risks quickly. Dramatic play. This is where a child or children would make up plays, a dance routine, play schools, and that kind of thing. These are not necessarily experiences a child has dealt with, but are more likely to be a child recreating scenes from someone else's life or scenes they have seen from the television and so on. Exploratory play. This kind of play involves a child engaging in a certain area or with an object via movement, such as throwing, stacking, or handling things. A child may throw a ball or begin to stack toys such as building blocks just for the fascination of finding out, what can I make with this, and discovering the outcome of what happens next. Curiosity plays a huge part in this. Fantasy play. This is as simple as its title, fantasy. The child begins to play in a way they would want the world to be. They may start to play pirates, become a knight slaying a dragon, be flying, or be casting magic spells, for example. Imaginative play. In this kind of play, a child acts out real activities in unreal situations. For example, a child may be driving a car, be sat on a bus, be riding a horse, or be in a spaceship that is not actually present. It may also involve objects. For example, a cardboard box may become a spaceship. Locomotor play. Play using movement in any and every direction. For example, tag, hide and seek, climb, swing or gallop, balance, go up and move along. Mastery play. This is a kind of play where children take control over a situation and have the urge to complete or master it. Examples of this type of play can include digging, construction and demolition, or making a den or shelter. Object play. This kind of play involves hand-eye coordination and movements with the use of objects, where children become fascinated by what the objects can do. For example, children would use objects in a different way to their intended purpose, where a piece of paper may become scrunched up to use as a ball. Recapitulative play. This is a kind of play that descends from human evolution, where roaming-type behaviors take place. For example, it may involve the weather and many of the elements where children may splash in puddles, make mud pies, dig, play with twigs and sticks, and even make up code language. Role play. It is important to remember that this type of play is not a reenactment of what a child may have experienced, but that they may have seen these situations on the television. For example, playing teacher, being a taxi driver, or even playing dead so that children can experience what this feels like. Rough and tumble play. This type of play involves body contact and is where no harm comes to the children. It involves tickling and measuring strength. For example, children may play wrestling, but they always show signs of no harm and appear to be enjoying the play. Social play. This involves interaction with other children, where children would play and abide by rules that are usually negotiated. For example, they may make up games or conversations. Socio-dramatic play. This is the kind of play that does involve children reenacting scenes that they may have seen or experienced themselves in home life, school, or even visiting places. It can involve various things such as caring, educating, nursing, shouting, using adult-like language, or even acting out an argument. Symbolic play. Symbolic play involves a child increasing their exploration and having control over an object or situation which they create. They may use a stick or a branch as a sword, or make noises and signs to create their own language. If a child does not experience such play within their childhood, they are seen as deprived and the child will become ill. The child will then act as an adult and reenact the behaviors that he or she has been deprived of, but in an adult form. Hughes stated that the role of the play worker is to create environments that allow children to experience behaviors that would not cause them to be deprived of any play experience. So, to summarize what we have learned today, there are 4 types of self-directed play: freely chosen play, personally directed play, intrinsically motivated play, goalless play. Play has numerous long-term and short-term benefits. Play aids development and encourages creativity. Goodbye, class, and good luck!